Chakraborty. Are you present?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. She will discuss the impact of tall buildings on avian communities in Ramsar wetlands. Please carry on.
Yeah. Is my screen visible to all? Okay.
Yes,
Thank you, sir, for informing.
just go to the full screen mode.
Yes, sir, I have done it.
Oh,
Is it visible
but
now?
not coming. No,
Uh, Now?
no, you have to share your entire screen, then it can come. What
Okay.
our previous experiences say.
Okay, okay. Just a second.
Just do it again.
Now, is it visible, sir?
Your slides are visible? Yes, it is visible.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Can I start now?
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'm Nivedita Chakraborty, a junior research biologist from WII Second, Coimbatore. And I am, first of all, I would like to thank Durgapur College for this opportunity for giving me to discuss about my research work about the fragmented skies, the influence of tall buildings on avian communities in a Ramsar wetland. So let's dive into it. So starting off with what is wetland. So I am working on East Kolkata wetlands. So before knowing about East Kolkata wetlands, we should know a little bit about wetlands. So wetlands are the areas which are covered with water, either temporarily or permanently, which includes freshwater lakes, estuaries, mangroves, salt flats, etc. And as of September 2024, India has 85 Ramsar sites now. So with those Ramsar sites, one of the important Ramsar sites of India is the East Kolkata wetlands, which acts as a multifunctional niche, and it covers 12,500 hectares, and which exemplifies a efficient model of nutrient recovery. It encompasses a diverse array of habitats, including intertidal marshes, salt meadows, wastewater treatment infrastructures such as settling ponds, oxidation basin, etc. It was declared as a Ramsar site with international importance in the year 2002 and was formed due to the shift of the Bhagirathi River and its tributaries. Presently, it is serving as mostly sewage-fed fisheries areas, multiple cropping fields, flood control plain, and waste recycling region. Now, with this rapid expansion of the urban sprawl near the East Kolkata wetlands, it has increased the human-wildlife conflict, disturbing the nesting sites and migratory routes of some important birds. So, this was my study area. This is located near the Anandapur area of Kolkata, and which is actually a core region uh, taking up the wetlands area as well as the urban sprawls, as well as the transitional areas in between. So objectives of the study lies over here that we wanted to investigate the frequency and causes of bird crashes with high-rise buildings, and also to assess the changes in bird species diversity across the time. Coming to the methodology, over the span of June 2024 to January 2025, I have employed a point count method for studying the birds, and it was recorded using the eBird app and notebook. So the point count method is a widely used method which is used in bird surveys and ecological studies. So Over here, mostly it includes the auditory and visual bird detections within plots with fixed or infinite radius by the observer for a set period of time within a defined area. For my study, I have been taking the bird sampling was done by fixed with point count with 100 meter of radius of the point from where I am starting the bird count. So a preferably good surrounding with good view and less disturbance was chosen first, and then it was taken as the 1 pound point count station. Then we have started counting the birds whichever were seen heard within the 100-meter radius, and also the birds which were flying above. And this count, each count of it was there for 15 minutes. And after completing 15 minutes, we move to the second area, at least maintaining a distance of 200 meter to avoid any kind of overlapping of in the surveys. And after these multiple surveys, data analysis was done using Shannon-Wiener diversity index uh, to determine the species richness, and also Pileus evenness index to determine the species evenness in the particular area. These were the sampling locations I have been going all over. So, as I have mentioned before, that my study area is comprised of three regions. In the eastmost is the wetlands. It is consisted of the wetlands. In the middle zone, it's the transitional zones or the buffer zones, which contains both the urban sprawls and the wetlands. And the left hand side or the west part of the map, you can see it's the residential or dwelling areas. These were the pictures of the bird sampling locations. Some of the bheris like Nolbon Bheri, Natar Bheri, Chokir Bheri were visited. And also some of the wetlands like Hosanpur wetland, Ahallanagar wetlands were also visited during the survey. Now, urbanization is inevitable, but biodiversity loss is not. It is with increasing demands, we are going to have urbanization. And with urbanization, this expansion and development of metropolitan cities, it is going to change the landscapes, transform the landscapes, disrupting the faunal populations, including birds, through habitat fragmentation, degradation, biodiversity loss, and ecological imbalances. But with pros, with cons, pros also comes in forward. So positive impacts of this urbanization is that they support the quality of life. Like the East Kolkata wetlands, it approximately supports 50,000 people economically. But the negative impacts cannot be ignored either. With this urbanization, with this urban sprawling, decrease in environmental quality and disruption in the stability of urban ecosystems are coming into place. The pattern of distribution and abundance of bird species has greatly influenced by the spatial configuration, which is the spatial designing, how the urban elements are being placed, and also distribution of the building types. Next, modified landscapes and its negative impacts. So this urbanization, as I have said before, that they are having negative impacts, which some of them are really fatal for the avian populations, like the employment of the transparent glasses or the reflective glasses, which make the birds having which mislead the birds and leading to them as for fatal bird crashes. Also, small apertures like small crevices, the spaces left between, are frequently traversed by birds as they see them as their nest or small places where they can build their nest. So these were the some problems which are associated with modified landscapes, high-rise buildings, which we come over, and we can see over here the topmost picture, which is over here in the rightmost corner. It's a picture from Nolbon Bheri, Salt Lake Sector 5 area, we can see the black kites are hovering around these tall buildings, and you can probably understand that why this reflective transparent glasses should be eradicated or minimized, at least in their usage. Also, another most important im- impact on the birds with the buildings, it's coming from the light pollution it is causing. During the bird migratory seasons, light pollution is creating disorientation in birds, as because this kind of the night pollution, one of the type of night pollution, as we can see the picture over here, sky glow, it often appears as a yellow halo around surrounding a city. A large amount of light is being emitted, which is brightens the night sky, which actually interferes in the migratory routes, which disorients the bird a lot. So that's why it also increases the accidents with the buildings and other objects. Also, we have seen altered behavior. The natural daylight day night cycles of birds are interrupted with this artificial lights, as like if you stay nearby any places near to Tollygunj, you would have been seen. I have myself witnessed in the region in Tollygunj near Bangur Hospital. There are overnight there we can hear the calls of common manna and other birds as well, because they are having their behavior altered, disrupted. So diurnal birds may see changes in their sleep cycles, when nocturnal species may become more active because of these light pollution. With this survey, I have came across to many of the buildings nearby the East Kolkata wetlands, the Urbana, the EM bypass areas, the Highland Park, these areas. So as I've said before in the methodology section, in this sampling section, that my study area was divided into 5 zones with 1 kilometer radius keeping each. So from that, I have employed Shannon Wiener Diversity Index and Pileus Evenness Index to understand the zonal variations in bird populations. So over the time, I have seen that zone 4 is having the highest number of diversity, which is the transitional area and more proximity to wetlands. And also zone 4 is also having the highest evenness index, as because it is closer to the wetland areas. During my study, a total of 59 avian species were recording, starting from water birds, migratory birds, to the synanthropic birds or the urban associated birds. Water birds like white-breasted water hen, egret, little cormorant, Indian pond heron, little grebe were seen in higher numbers across the transitional and wetland areas. Indian pied starling was one of the species which was abundant in every areas, in every zones. Black kite, little swifts, and other raptor like shikra was present in moderate to high numbers near the Dhapa dumping ground, soaring at great heights. Synanthropic species were found closely, which obviously human dominated areas, in the dwelling areas. House crow, common manna, jungle babbler, rock pigeon were found in much higher number in the residential areas. But the striking thing was that though water bodies should have the water birds nearby, but the water bodies which were present in the residential areas or the highly dwelling areas, they were devoid of the water birds which were assumed to be present, and which actually indicates, hello,
Yes, please carry on.
sorry, so which indicates that wetland ecosystem is changing primarily due to anthropogenic activity. Next, coming to the next part, that I have also observed the migratory birds. So we can have this look on this chart, that four bird migratory species were seen: barn swallows, citrine wagtail, western yellow wagtail, and white wagtail. So barn swallows were observed highly in every zones except the zone 2, which was present in higher numbers. Yellow wagtails and white wagtails were present, but not very in much abundant numbers like the barn swallows. It was present in zones 3 and 4 more. So barn swallows adaptability shows us that it can thrive in transitional as well as urban landscapes, while the citrine and yellow wactils, most of them were found in the wetland areas like Ahola wetland area. I have went, so over there both the citrine and yellow wactils and also the white wactils were present in those areas in more numbers. Next, these two figures are showing us, the first figure, figure number 4, is showing us the correlation between the glass surface area and the bird collisions, where the blue bars you can see, it's showing the number of or the usage of the glass surfaces across the gradient. In wetland core, you can see it's minimalized, but the more we are going towards the high rise adjacent, it is growing in number. And the red line which you can see, it is giving us the idea of the bird collisions, which is correlated with the usage of reflective surfaces in the high rise areas. So it has increased where there are high rise buildings. And figure 5 is showing us that the diversity indices in across the urbanization gradient as well as the pilus in evenness index across the urbanization gradient. So it's more in the wetland core, the diversity indices is diversity indices and in evenness index is more in wetland areas and less in high rise adjacent. So from this, we can interpret that zones with greater presence of high-rise buildings and reflective classes show a notable drop in bird species richness and evenness, as we have seen in the figure. And the reflective glasses, it increases the collision risks, contributing to direct mortality, habitat avoidance by sensitive species. And the generalist species persist near urban structures more, while the wetland specialists, they tend to stay in more wetland areas. So with all these risks and all these fatal collisions of the avian population and degradation, what we can do, what is in our hand? So following up the standards for bird safe buildings by San Francisco 2011, some of the mitigation measures can be opted on our part. So we can use UV pattern glass or checkered glasses to make the transparent surfaces visible to birds so that collision doesn't happen. We can avoid keeping large open things near the vegetation or water body so that they don't mislead and they get crashed into it. And also for the light pollution, we can use downward directed lighting to reduce the nighttime disorientation. And coming to the citizen science, we can conduct awareness campaigns for developers, architects using San Francisco's policy as a model. And most importantly, if we involve the local community in this time, then it would have a greater impact, as because if they are aware about their surroundings and the birds, because during my survey I have also questioned about the migratory birds. There is a sharp, like not sharp, but there is a much decline in the number of migratory birds has really reduced in the Nolbone area, in the Nolbone Bheri areas. The people were over there, they were, while in questioning them about what are the migratory birds do they see, so they have only one answer to me, that ma'am, whatever we are seeing, they were much more in numbers if we go back to 2020 or 2019. 5 years there is a havoc change. Even in numbers of other water birds are also previously, if previous studies which have been conducted for the Urbana report, if we refer, I have referred to that. So there are many less water birds I have observed during my study. These were some of the birds which have been observed during the study. So with this, I would like to conclude that urbanization is going to happen, and high-rise buildings which are impacting the natural habitats, displacing the birds, limiting the foraging grounds, nesting opportunities, those can those can be reduced at a point, and for that we can implement broad friendly measures, such as I have just explained, I have just pointed out, such as green building designs, non-reflective glasses, building of some green belts or vegetative integrated buildings. If we can plant a rooftop garden or a certain balcony which is having some space of greenery where birds can come and sit for their foraging or just for loitering, that can be included. Reducing the nighttime lighting, particularly during the migration seasons, can greatly help mitigate these impacts and protect the local ecosystems. With this, thank you.
Thank you for the nice presentation. Any questions?
Well, I have two questions.
Yes, ma'am.
First one is you have talked about the mitigation strategies that awareness camps or programs can be organized. So, is there such kind of initiative taken by any NGO working in that area?
No, ma'am. As per my information, no such things have are being done. But whenever I have went for the birth surveys, I have, for at least for my reach, I have the many people I have met. I have told them about these things, the things which are happening, the developmental activities. We can't stop it in a go. We can, but we can minimize the usage of the things which can alter the things for the minimalization of collisions.
Well, then I will suggest that you can at least contact the NGOs who are working in Kolkata. I know there are certain NGOs who are working on birds only,
Hmm.
so you can contact with them, and then you can arrange some awareness programs in that particular
Yes, ma'am.
area.
Surely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Yes.
so much.
And I have another question to ask: that
Yes, ma'am.
is this the only reason that the migratory birds are not coming into that East Kolkata wetland?
Uh,
Urbanization, or there are certain other factors also which can play a role in reducing their numbers?
Ma'am, during my study, which I have seen that obviously there are other, maybe there are other
Yeah, because fishing
problems
is going
also.
on there, and there are
Yes,
pollution also, because
yes,
there is a leather factories also there.
yes,
I know
yes,
about that.
yes. But this urban sprawling or the developmental activities which are really coming up really fast in the Anandapur area itself, some of the buildings are coming up. The Urbana, which happened 2012, now later on, now new construction buildings are also being have been started building over there, those regions. So I have seen that nearby this Nonadanga Jheel oxidation pond, over
Mm.
there new project is coming up. So obviously the foraging ground was before, for the there was a large tank I have seen. So over there, it was a perching area for the black kites. But now obviously they have shifted to, they will shift, adaptation is the key obviously for them. But in the long run, I guess this biodiversity loss is going to happen. It's going to increase more and more, because uh, no way, like the way they are shifting, they are trying to adapt with this urban infrastructures, and they are shifting away from the East Kolkata wetlands to more distant parts now.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you,
But I
ma'am.
think you should contact the NGOs who are working in this
Yes,
particular.
ma'am. Surely. After this, ma'am, can I contact with you for this
Yeah, yeah,
discussion of
surely.
this?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, sure.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I see a question over here.
Yes, there is one question in the chat box.
Thank you, Priyankar. Could maintaining a buffer zone around the wetlands help? Yes, to some extent, as because wetlands, as the transitional zones are in close proximity to wetlands. So what we can do for the urban sprawls, we can't help much, but for the transitional zones, we can plan certain things. Like Chingri Ghata is one of the it comes under the transitional zone. So there are captain berries, and there are nearby so many places over there. We can use some of the mitigation policies over there if we can. And yeah, that's it.
Is there any more question? It seems no. Thank you, Nivedita. Thank you so much.
Thank